Hey everyone, welcome back to another series of the real highlight reels of New Zealand women in business. And you guys know that one of the reasons I love sharing this is I really want you to see what it's like behind the scenes for everyone, what I call the real social media highlight reels in business, because you just have no idea where your business is going to take you. And sometimes it can take you from your beginning idea, go on this whole freaking new journey, and you come back to your original idea. And you know what? That's freaking okay. And I can't wait to introduce you to Lesieli Oliver from Youth Thrive. And she's going to share with us today that journey where she went out on her own and the journey she's been on. And then she's going to be able to talk to you about her new product or new offering from Youth Thrive, Lalanga. Have I said that right? I hope so. And she's going to share with you exactly what she's up to. So yay, welcome. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you, Nat. I've missed you and always grateful for everything that you've taught me. And yeah, I'll share about it. It's starting to get teary.
It's so long.
It's been really, really long. And I feel like the last time I saw you, I came out of coaching with you and I was in a bit of a low, like I was trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
And it's just completely changed for me.
But also in those times, remember, like even your life was having this new momentum, changes on so many levels. And I just love the fact that you kept continuing to show up for yourself with curiosity and what we call is that infinite mindset. So congratulations to you. So
thank you.
Take us back to the beginning when you first decided that you wanted to come out with your business as a life coach. Start us there and then let's go through. Let's catch up.
So I came out as a life coach because my first dream didn't work out. I actually sacrificed my first dream to be a mum. I always wanted to be a politician, studied politics. I was student president, had everything lined up for me. But then in my last year of university, I met this amazing, handsome man. Yeah. And it happened like we got engaged and we started dating on like the 3rd of January, got engaged in April, got married in December. And then we went away on an 8-week honeymoon, came back and I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
And so that really changed everything for me because I had my child, but I also just got newly married. Dan started his business, just coming out of engineering school. And I really had to choose, do I want to really, pursue this political thing, or do I want to raise my daughter? And so I really wanted to pursue politics and I had some amazing opportunities too. But, the advice that I was given was no, you'll really miss out on the times with your child and it's really worth the sacrifice. And so that's what I did. And so because I gave up that dream, I've always been in search for something else. Like what is, I believe everyone's created for a purpose. And so I worked in our tech business because it really worked around the flexibility, but I just found that over the years, I just didn't even know who I was. I just became lost. I'd lost my confidence. I had no direction. And so one day I just decided after the birth of my 4th child, I knew that was the end of that phase. I had to figure out what's the next phase of my life going to look like because I'd sacrificed a lot for my husband and the kids. And so that's when I thought, oh, hang on, how about I study to be a life coach? So it was purely to use the tools in my own life to help me get out of my own rut, really. But then when I went through life coaching, I didn't realize that to get certified, you had to actually, to get the certificate, you had to complete a certain number of hours and you had to have coached a certain number of people. And so in the process of all of that, I just became a completely different person. Studying it was really great, but launching myself as a life coach was really hard because that was a requirement, was that to get international certification, you had to launch yourself publicly, you had to do all these things. And so then I went into life coaching and I absolutely loved it. The thing with life coaching is that actually I had tried something else before then. 4 years ago, Dan and I came up with this health and wellbeing idea called Youth Thrive. We pitched it because of our contacts. We went all the way up to the top of the Ministry of Education and we pitched it to the CEO and the senior leaders and said, hey, we have this product the problem is we can see that the well-being of Māori and Pacific kids, but kids in general, are really being impacted. We pitched our idea. We were looking for investors and we just got a huge closed door. And that was really, really tough for me. I actually went into a little bit of depression after that because I was really sad by it. So then that's why I went into coaching, is because I thought, oh, how about I go into this field? But then when I went into coaching, I knew it wasn't where I was meant to be.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a really hard one because I found coaching other women really challenged me and really highlighted the areas in my life that I'm not embracing. Part of it was my culture, where I come from, the struggles of my past. And so I attracted the same kind of women, like European, had money, but I always knew in my heart that that's not where my coaching gift needed to serve, but I didn't have the courage to move out of there. And I felt like the longer I stayed there, although I learned a lot, because that's when I started working with you, I learned so much. And, my coaching with you was worth every single dollar, my personal growth from that journey. But the longer I stayed there, the more unsuccessful I became, to be honest.
Yeah.
And remember, when we were coaching, I basically stopped at 12 months because I knew I wasn't attracting the people. It wasn't that I wasn't attracting it. It's just my heart wasn't in it. And I couldn't sell myself and I couldn't sell the product because I knew I didn't believe in it. And so I closed up coaching with you. And I remember actually one of your last words was to, like I said to you, I have two options. Either I move into the Māori and Pacific space, or I stay, or I don't do it at all. And you said, you really encouraged me to go there and to kind of move with the fear and the discomfort and just go there, but I wasn't convinced. And so we closed up coaching in November last year after COVID. The Ministry of Education, I saw it on Facebook, they were asking for innovative ideas to meet the wellbeing problems of Māori and Pacific kids that have been impacted by COVID. And I knew I had an idea. I just had to change it a bit. And that's how I created Lalanga. Basically spent a whole month of full-time hours just creating this program, this idea. It was, and I submitted in November. Basically, I asked the government if they gave me 200,000, I would pilot this new program called Lalanga, which would meet the wellbeing needs of 60 Māori and Pacific kids from a Decile 1 school. Sorry, getting a bit emotional. I would use our tech business to create an app which measured the impact of the program on the wellbeing of kids. Submitted the program to the ministry on the 6th of November. Then that was it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Honestly, when I submitted the application, like the last 2 hours, my whole body was shaking. I just burst into tears crying. Because to me, I had already felt like I'd failed the first time.
Yeah.
I didn't want to fail the second time, but I thought, you know what, I'll give this a really good go, leave it up to God. If it's meant to be, it will be. So I submitted the application. And then 3 weeks later, I got a call from a school. Actually, I'll tell you the truth, what really happened. When I was in the middle of putting my application together, I had to ask a question. And then I emailed this person asking a question. It was just a generic email. And then the person that came back was actually my auntie. It was like my dad's, in our culture, it's like my dad's sister. She was a senior advisor in the ministry. And I knew she was in the ministry, but had no idea. And I kind of felt embarrassed. Like I didn't want to apply at that point. But my sister was like, man, if she found out you had applied and hadn't told her, she'd be really upset. So she went to this massive big deal of declaring her conflict of interest and said, my niece is applying. So it really put pressure on me to finish the application.
Yeah, great.
And because I've tried lots of applications and gone halfway through and thought, no, I can't be bothered. I probably won't get it. So yeah, she really helped. That was really hard because, like from coaching with you, I'm not big on asking for help. So she, her and her team kind of gave me some ideas, put me in the right direction. I submitted the application. Then 3 weeks later, I have another auntie who's principal of Tamaki College. She found out about the application and she said, hey, I want this program. My kids need it. If the government don't give you 200,000, I'll find the money. Can you launch it in 7 days? So my husband, Yeah. My husband thought I was crazy, and I thought I was crazy too, because I had nothing. I had a logo that I had to put together. I didn't have a website. We just had nothing. But you know what? I said to myself, look, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I've been waiting for this door to open. I would rather die trying than not try at all. And basically, we pulled everything together. The most amazing part about it is that the school said, we want you to come with your male mentor who's going to work with you next year, which meant that in 3 days, I had to find a guy that bought into our vision, that wanted to give up his good paying job to come on to our program, and would commit to it. And basically, I found a guy. He was a friend of ours.
Amazing.
And he loved the vision. And the hardest part was around money. Like, I asked him how much you get paid, and he got paid a lot. And so it was a real honor to be able to still pay him and ask him to come onto the program. So we launched the program, got 60 kids on board, ran it as if we had the funding, because the school said they were going to fund it. And then in February the 1st, the ministry came back and they said, the money's all yours, because everybody said you'd be lucky if you got 10% or 30%. So I was already acting on, we might get 30%, you know? So the ministry called me one day and they said, look, the full funding is yours. We're not going to negotiate. Come into our office and sign the contract. And that was that. And anyway, when I went to the ministry, they said to me, look, out of hundreds of applications, your application, it was reviewed by 3 independent boards. Your application always came out on the top. And and the thing that I know, which really helped me to set my application apart, is what I learned from you, which is really understanding the problem that you're solving and really being able to speak to that problem and figure out the answer to that problem. But the catch to the problem is that I had to be courageous enough to go back to where I came from, which is the same as the challenges that these kids are living in now. And so long of the short is that we asked the ministry for that funding for 60 kids. By the end of term 2, we would have reached 500.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So because they gave us the full fund, we're able to stretch that fund to reach as many kids as we can. And yeah, that's the long of the short.
It's been ages since Lesieli and I've caught up. So this is me hearing that for the first time. And I just want to know, I know how much mental capacity you've had to stretch yourself to get to where you are right now talking with me today, from, you know, having to launch and get certified in life coaching, which means putting yourself out there, which means facing stuff that you didn't know you're going to have to face, and you go put yourself out there, right? And you did it so courageously. And what I love for you is, and I think this happens for some people too, very similar with me with my first business, is it wasn't the right platform to make the impact I knew I was here. And anyone listening to you today within the first 5 minutes of this conversation is going to know that you're here to drive massive impact. So of course, working with just women and a certain type of woman wasn't the platform in which we need to be seeing you in your full power. So I know the sacrifices you've made to get here, and I'm blown away and just so proud that you backed yourself, asked for help. I remember one of the applications you were doing, you were chatting to me, and you were in the car park of a shopping centre, and I was just your tenacity is amazing. So this is so well deserved.
Thank you so much.
I
because I always wondered, and I guess this is for people who watch other people be coached or coached under you. Like, I watched so many people, it just felt like they were attracting clients here, there, and everywhere, and I was just trying to attract the same. And then I walked away. Someone said to me, "Wow, you coached with her for a whole year, and it's an investment. Do you think it was a waste of money?" But I never thought it was, because I do absolutely believe in personal development. But the thing is, for me, once I got to that point of, I'm going to try, I'm going to fill in the application, I knew all the skills. I knew how to put together forms and a website, and I had the drive and the determination. I believed in myself. I knew how to speak to the problem and answer it. I felt like that whole period of coaching with you was a preparation time for me. Had I not gone through that, I definitely know for a fact that I wouldn't have been prepared to launch into the next phase.
I think you're so right on those things. Like when we have evidence of being able to attract, because you were able to attract when you ran some workshops and you had some coaching clients. But what can happen is if we're not in full alignment of what we're doing, and it feels wrong or not how you want to be doing it. It like the opposite said, like you said, and what you experienced is the opposite can happen, and this whole repelling can happen. So I love the reframe for you that you've given that. And you're right, a lot of coaching often isn't always about tactic and strategy. It's the how are you going to deal with this in this space? How are you moving through this at the moment? And you were always so great, amazingly vulnerable to be like, this is where I'm at. And it really sucks. And
yeah. And I think you really gave me the space to do that. And the hardest part about launching into You Thrive is that when my official start date was last year, but I came into the business at the same time as my full-time employee and my part-time employee. And that was just the scariest thing ever, because I don't have any business. I've always kind of lived under the shadow of my husband. He's always been the boss.
Thank you. You just said it, right? We're coaching. I used to live under the shadow of my husband. I'm like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool moment there.
And it was really hard. And I jumped on a call, and now I know that I do not need to know everything. There are so many people that are out there to have specialties, and it's not a weakness to ask them for help. But, one of the big issues for me, and probably something that's really put me off work, is I actually raised it with my accountant. He said, oh, do you have any questions to ask? I said, the biggest question is, I want to take the school holidays off. Like, I love working hard, but then what do I do when I have like one staff here who have families, and I want to be at home with my kids, and I don't know what to do with everyone else, and I don't want to be having a rest while they're not. So he was basically like, well, you do it. What do you want to do? You do whatever you want to do in the way way you want to do it. And let's find the resources to help you do that. So it's interesting. Out of all of that, it was really just the school having time off in the school holidays.
Do you know what you're actually really naturally really good at? And I think that's the thing, is the less prepared you are, the better you perform. And actually how You Thrive came back about was you just literally, and some people call it just taking that leap and just your full trust and faith that you're going to pull it off, and you pulled it off. And I think that's actually one of your superpowers, is you might be like, I don't really know what I'm doing at the moment. It's like, yeah, but actually that's the best place for you to be piloting from, because if there's anyone who's going to hit the ground running, whatever circumstance comes about, it's you. Yep.
Hey, I've got to share something with you, because this is what I definitely learned from you, is around money mindset. Remember?
Yes.
Because I worked in our IT business, good paying salary, pays the mortgage. The understanding was that if I moved out, I had to earn the same or better. And of course, the competitive nature of me was like, okay, well, I'll double what I said to my husband. I'll move out and watch me. I'm going to double my salary in here. And yeah, when I come out, because remember, I set a goal with you, and I said, if I can just make this much, and it was such a lousy amount, I'm embarrassed that I valued myself at that. And
it's such a journey though, right? We all have to go on that journey to come out the other side, right?
And I pitched to the ministry what I knew I comfortably needed to get paid, so then I could do this job wholeheartedly. And they didn't flinch. No one, even said anything. And the thing I love about getting over my unhealthy relationship with money is now I feel like it's a balanced approach, as in I get paid really well to do something I really love. I work really, really hard. I mean, I can honestly say I work hard. I will always work harder than anybody else in this company. But it means that I can play hard too.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was at a business event, and someone asked me, I see you in your mentoring program. It's so good. And thank you. And they said, so do you, does the tech business pay you so then you can work in here for free? And I said, hell no way. I was like, absolutely not. I get paid better in my new business actually than in the tech business, and I was that was such a proud moment for me. that I'm actually doing what, because it's a cultural thing too, you'll give everything for free. And I think a woman thing, like you always used to say, but I'm doing something that I love. Getting paid what I know I should be. And I've got goals to just, like I thought I was getting paid really well. And then I went to my accountant a few weeks ago and he said, I want to see you at paying yourself. I'm not getting paid this, by the way, just in case you think. His goal for me was to get paid 300,000 in like 2 or 3 years or something. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, but the money mindset has been really good for me because the kids that we serve are working minimum wage jobs, really bright kids. And I think if I can really, really thrive in this area, I can help the other kids that we serve, even my own daughters. Like I think to myself, my child, one of them wants to be an engineer. There's no way I would say to her, go and work for an engineering firm and take 50,000, just be happy with that. Because at least it's not about the money. Someone actually asked me, can I have a job? It's not about the money. And I'm like, it absolutely is about the money.
Well done. It's about helping. Yeah, totally. It's about helping, one of the things I love is being able to help them and go, actually, it's okay to make money doing things you love and that come easily. You deserve it. You don't have to be giving for free. So I love for you that you want to infiltrate that down, which is huge, right?
Yes. And you've helped me with that is I actually always have to remind myself that it doesn't have to be shameful. It doesn't have to be hard. It is. And I think every part of the way with this whole new business, it's been so easy and just effortless. And of course, it's a lot of hard work and sacrifice, but I've constantly had to remind myself, no, it's actually not a hard thing. It's not attached with shame or pain.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
But you're right. Like that whole journey you had to go on to get here. Everyone has to go on this journey. Like I tried to fast track it. Some of my clients try to fast track it. But sometimes you just have to excuse what I'm about to say. Sometimes you have to eat a shit sandwich. That's disgusting, I know, but sometimes it's got to be yuck for quite a while to come out the other side and actually be in full power in what you're meant to do. And you've found that delivery mechanism and the platform in which to do so. And it's just a massive journey you've been on, and so amazing to hear about it.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's like what you say, it's about seasons, right? And not giving up before the next season is just about to start. And I think for me, I knew when the ministry said, close that door the first time that I just knew it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But then 4 years later, well-being is like everywhere. Everybody cares about well-being. So I would have never, you just don't know what's going to happen when you try. And if I had known that if I put in this application that I'd be in this position, I probably wouldn't have done it, to be honest. It would have scared me.
Right? Yeah, totally. I'd love to know what your girls think, because they're both at high school at the moment, right? What do they think about you with this new biz and having staff and running it? Like, what do they think about that?
Can I just say before you do that, because of a whole bunch of events, my children ended up going into boarding school.
Yeah.
Because, I'm all about thriving in the juggle. And that has been, I've really had to give myself permission to enjoy
really
it.
Hard. Yes.
It was hard to let go of them, but it has been such a good thing for me. And I think if they were not in boarding school, I don't know what I'd do because I couldn't keep up with it all. And I've got 2 other kids, I've got 4 kids in general, but it's enabled me to do my thing here, and it's really enabled them to they're doing a million different things in boarding school, and they don't, the school drives them around and feeds them and does their washing and all of that kind of stuff. So that's really helped me kind of lean into what I'm doing. But
for you, because that stopped you having to sacrifice all the time. So that allowing and trusting for that to happen, and now you're able to go, you're all in on what you want to be doing. I love that. I love that it happened.
And they love it. Like I take them to the camps with us. I talk to them about it. I have actually already told them that they are taking over my job and they're working in the business. But I think it's really, really important for them because they have so many privileges. Like I went to a Decile 1 school, kid didn't have lunch, parents were poor. but they go to a decile 10 school, and that's always been the dream for me. And they, I always keep them connected with what we're doing. So then they have that heart to serve, and always knowing that there are people that really, because we always talk about problems, your life is going to be about solving people's problems. But I just take them on the ride with me, and I don't really feel guilty about it. If they come to all the school stuff, they help at camp, because at the end of the day, we're all kind of working as a team and trying to make it work. But yeah, they're really proud of me. I think I just, out of this whole thing, it's really good for them to know that the connection to there are real problems out there that are looking for smart kids in the future to solve.
What are you, for someone starting out on their own personal business journey, what would you love to share with them? If you could give them a piece of advice of just if they're about to kick off and they're just starting out, what would you love to share with them?
You didn't ask me about this, but it's a piece of advice that I always give to my kids, when off the back of our hand. But winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners.
Ooh,
Do you know it's Michael Phelps? There's this really famous quote where he's racing with his eyes straight ahead, and then his competitor, whatever, is watching him.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And so that's my biggest piece of advice, is to focus on winning and not focus on what anyone else is doing. Because, when I launched this, I had actually quite a lot of resistance.
Yes.
And it was a really hard time for me. A couple of people actually said to me, "What are you doing? You're all over the place." That's how it was. Coaching, you're launching a mentoring program, working in IT. And that's what it looked like to other people. I knew that's, it's just about being multi-passionate. But yeah, it's really important when you know what you want, that you really stay focused on the prize, and that you don't let, the success of other people, your insecurities and weaknesses and your negative mindset or whatever, distract you from that, but just stay focused. I love, I can't remember his name. I can think of it. It's stay hungry, stay humble, stay smart. Oh, yeah. It's just about, it's one thing to win, but also I think what's helped me is to always remember why you're doing it, and remember it's a humbling thing for me to know that actually I'm helping people that were just where I was 30 years ago, whenever it was. But just focus on your purpose, focus on the work that you're called to do, and don't focus on anything else.
I love that for you, and I love the fact that you've also talked about how just letting go of sometimes of how it's going to unfold. Because if someone told you this is how it's going to happen for you, you'd be like, "What? That's ridiculous. Why didn't I take the most direct line there?" And that's the joke. That's the trick. Is you have to go through that journey to learn about yourself, to be of full impact. So I love that piece of advice. I love the Phelps piece, and he's right. He never looks about anyone else. It's straightforward, and he competes against himself, right? Which is the healthiest type of competition. It was so amazing to connect with you, and I love how you suggested we were going to have a quick catch up, and we're like, let's just record and catch up. So I know that someone hearing your story today is really, there's going to be someone who's feeling that what they're doing right now just isn't the thing. And I really care about that. It's someone, if you're hearing it today, that what you're doing isn't the thing and it's not aligning, and you've got something else you really want to do and you're afraid of doing it. Think of Lesieli and the fact that she decided to give it a go, and look at where you're at. Look at where you're at. Even after one no, you've come back and got the biggest yes.
Yeah, that's right. And I think about you. I mean, you overcoming your challenge, and I always find it inspiring, and yeah, it inspires others. I definitely feel like I've inherited part of your DNA from being under you as a coach. Yeah,
I love that. I love it when people are like, "Oh yeah, I often think about what would Nat think? What would Nat do?" And I think that whole imperfect piece for me is just legend, because there's so much I wouldn't have done if I'd stayed in that perfectionist space, where I thought was meant, was where you're meant to be. Okay,
absolutely. Thank you so much, Nat.
Anyway, go check out You Thrive. What a cool thing to get behind and have a look at. And I can't wait to see what else comes about and what else you're going to do. So thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you, Nat.
We're not leaving. I'm just pushing record, stopping.